The stage station at Red Hollow buzzed with nervous energy. The morning Celine Ward took the reins. Men gathered in loose knots, pretending not to stare, while staring all the same. Some leaned against hitching posts. Others hovered near the depot doors, murmuring doubts they didn't bother to lower their voices for. A few had the decency to look ashamed. Celine ignored them all. She adjusted her gloves with practiced calm. Dark hair pulled into a tight braid that brushed the collar of her coat. Dust clung to the hem of her skirt and the leather of her boot-sproof. She belonged out here no matter what the town thought. The 6-horse team stamped impatiently, sensing the tension as much as the danger that waited beyond Red Hollow's borders. This route had a reputation. 30 miles of broken land, narrow canyons, and outlaw country. 3 drivers had quit in the last 6 months. 1 hadn't come back at all, and now the stage line belonged to her. Celine climbed onto the driver's bench without ceremony, settling in like she'd been born there. Her father's old shotgun rested beside her, polished and loaded. The stage behind her creaked as passengers shifted uneasily to merchants. A preacher and a woman clutching a carpet bag, as if it might save her life. "You sure about this, Miss Ward?" the station master called out, wiping his brow. "Still time to reconsider." Celine glanced down at him, one eyebrow lifting. "I've been sure since you told me no one else would take the job." That earned a few chuckles and a few scowls. She gathered the reins, ready to call the team forward, when a presence at her side made her pause. He hadn't been there a moment ago. Or if he had, she hadn't noticed, which irritated her more than she cared to admit. The man stood near the lead horses, tall and still, dressed in dust-worn gray with a rifle slung across his back. A wide-brimmed hat shadowed his face, but his eyes were sharp and assessing, taking in everything: the horses, the wheels, the passengers, and finally, her. Jarred Cole. Celine knew the name before anyone said it. Everyone along the route did. Sharpshooter, former army scout, a man rumored to have more ghosts than friends. He worked alone, trusted no one, and didn't stay anywhere long. If trouble followed the stage line, he was the kind of man you hired to meet it head-on. "You're late," Celine said evenly. Jarred's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "You're early." His voice was low, calm, the kind that didn't rise even when bullets flew. "So you're the protection they hired?" she asked. "Thought they'd send 2 men, or at least someone older." His gaze flicked back to the horizon. "I'm enough." That confidence might have annoyed her if it didn't sound earned. Celine studied him for a beat, then nodded once. "Long as you don't get in my way." Jarred met her eyes fully then, something unreadable passing between them. "Same goes for you, ma'am." The station master cleared his throat loudly. "Mr. Cole here, be riding shotgun. Best there is." Celine didn't respond. She snapped the reins instead. The horses surged forward, the stage wheels groaning as they rolled out of Red Hollow and into the open stretch beyond town. Conversations died behind them. The last buildings fell away, replaced by scrubland and endless sky. Jarred climbed up beside her, settling in with an easy balance that told her he was used to moving fast and sleeping light. He rested one hand near his rifle, eyes scanning the trail ahead. For the first mile, neither of them spoke. Celine broke the silence. "You ever driven a stage?" "No." "Ever take orders from a woman?" A pause, then. "If she knows what she's doing." She smiled despite herself. The road narrowed, cliffs rising on either side as the wind kicked up dust around them. Somewhere ahead, danger waited. Celine felt it in her bones. But for the first time since taking the job, she didn't feel alone. And that scared her more than the outlaws ever could. By mid-morning, the land had turned unforgiving. The stage rattled through a stretch of red rock and dry ravines where the sun burned hot and shadows clung too long to the canyon walls. Celine kept the horses steady, her grip firm but gentle, guiding them through ruts carved by years of wheels and bloodshed. This part of the route had earned its name, Dead Man's Pass. It didn't forgive mistakes. Jarred sat beside her, silent but alert. She noticed the way his eyes never stopped moving. Horizon, ridgeline, narrow bends, ahead. He read the land like a book she hadn't quite learned yet, and despite herself, she respected it. "You always watch that hard?" she asked, breaking the quiet. "Only when I expect company." That was answer enough. The passengers inside the coach had grown quieter with every mile. The preacher muttered prayers under his breath. One of the merchants swore softly every time the wheels hit a stone. Fear rode with them now, heavy and undeniable. Celine felt it too, but she refused to let it show. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "If you let the road sense your fear, it'll take advantage of you." She sat straighter, chin lifted, reins steady. They rounded a bend where the canyon narrowed sharply. Jarred stiffened. "Fold," he said quietly. Celine reined in the team without question. The horses snorted, dust rising around their hooves. "What is it?" she asked. Jarred slid down from the bench, boots hitting the ground without a sound. He studied the dirt ahead, crouching near the edge of the trail. After a moment, he reached out and touched a faint mark, fresh, but carefully disguised. "Tracks," he said. "2 riders, maybe 3. Waiting ahead, inside the coach." A nervous voice called out. "Is everything all right?" Jarred stood, his hand resting near his rifle. "Depends how patient they are." Celine swallowed. "Most likely." She considered the narrow walls, the lack of cover, the heavy coach behind them. Turning back wasn't an option, not without inviting pursuit. "What do you suggest?" she asked. Jarred looked at her then. Really looked, measuring not just her nerve, but her resolve. "We move slow, quiet. Let them think we didn't notice, and if they decide to make their move anyway." His mouth curved faintly. "Then I earn my pay." They pressed on. The canyon tightened, sound carrying too well. Every creak of leather felt too loud. Celine focused on breathing, on the rhythm of the horses, on keeping her hands steady. Her heart pounded, but she didn't falter. The ambush came fast. A rifle cracked from the ridge above, the shot splintering rock inches from Jarred's head. Another followed, closer this time. The horses screamed, rearing in panic. "Easy," Celine shouted, hauling back on the reins. "Easy." Jarred moved in a blur. He grabbed his rifle, rolled behind the front wheel, and fired, once clean, precise. A body tumbled from the rocks above, hitting the ground hard and still. Another outlaw rose from cover, firing wildly. Jarred fired again. Silence fell, broken only by the echo of gunfire and the labored breathing of the horses. Celine's pulse roared in her ears. "Is it over?" Jarred didn't answer immediately. He scanned the ridges, waited, listened. Finally, he stood. For now, inside the coach, someone sobbed softly. The preacher whispered a fervent prayer of thanks. Jarred climbed back up beside her, his expression unreadable. "You handled them well," he said. "So did you." He glanced at her hands, still firm on the reins. "Most folks freeze the first time. I didn't have that luxury." Their eyes met. Something unspoken passing between them, respect, maybe, or the beginning of trust. As the stage rolled forward again, dust settling behind them, Celine realized something unsettling. Danger didn't scare her nearly as much as the thought of depending on someone else. And yet, as the trail stretched ahead, she found herself hoping Jarred would stay. They made camp, that night, beneath a sky heavy with stars. Celine guided the stage off the trail and into a shallow wash where cottonwood trees offered a little cover. The passengers climbed down stiffly, grateful to be alive, but shaken to the core. Jarred kept watch while they settled, his rifle never far from reach. A small fire crackled to life as the desert cooled. Celine passed out water and hard bread, her movements efficient, her voice steady as she reassured the frightened woman and checked the horses for injuries. Only when everyone else had settled did she allow herself to sit, stretching her sore hands and rolling her shoulders. Jarred watched her from across the fire. "You don't act like this is new," he said. Celine didn't look up. "It isn't." He waited, She could tell he was the kind of man who didn't press but, who noticed everything. "My father ran this stage line," she said finally. "I grew up on the trail, learned to shoot before I learned to sew. When he died, the line nearly folded." Jarred nodded once. "So you took it over." Someone had to. The firelight flickered across his face, softening the sharp lines. "Towns don't like women taking over dangerous work. They like failure even less," she replied. A faint smile crossed his lips before fading. "Fair enough." The passengers drifted off one by one, fear exhausting them more than the day's travel. Soon it was just the two of them, the horses and the whisper of wind through the trees. Jarred rose and walked the perimeter, checking shadows, listening. Celine watched him go, noticing how quiet he was, even on loose stone. When he returned, he sat a little closer this time, still distant, but no longer guarded by space alone. "You didn't hesitate back there," he said. "Neither did you." "I get paid to be brave," he replied. "You don't." She met his gaze. "I get paid to get people home, alive." That seemed to strike something in him. His eyes dropped to the fire. "That kind of responsibility changes a person." "Yes," she said softly. "It does." Silence stretched between them, not awkward, but heavy, with things unsaid. "You always work alone?" she asked. Jarred leaned back, staring up at the stars. "Usually." "Why?" "Because everyone leaves, eventually." The honesty surprised her. She turned fully toward him. "You don't know that." "I know it well enough." Celine considered him, the way his shoulders stayed tense even at rest, the way his eyes never fully closed. She recognized that look. She'd worn it herself after her father's death. "Maybe they leave," she said. "Or maybe you don't give them a reason to stay." He looked at her then, truly looked tanned for a moment. The sharpshooter disappeared, replaced by a man carrying too much weight. Before he could answer, a sound cut through the night. Hoofbeats. Jarred was on his feet instantly, rifle in hand. He motioned for silence as Celine rose beside him, shotgun ready. The horses shifted nervously. Two riders emerged from the dark, slow, deliberate, not charging, watching. Jarred's jaw tightened. Scouts. Celine's pulse quickened. From the same gang, most likely. One rider raised a hand. "Evenin'," he called, voice smooth. "Just passin' through." Jarred didn't lower his rifle. "Trail's wide." The rider chuckled. "Heard there's a woman run this stage now?" Celine stepped forward, chin lifted. "You heard right?" The men exchanged glances. "Brave," the rider said, "or foolish." Jarred fired a warning shot into the dirt at their feet. Conversation's over. The riders backed away slowly, disappearing into the darkness. Celine exhaled shakily. "They'll be back." "Yes," Jarred said. With more, she looked at him, fear and determination colliding in her chest. "Then we'll be ready." Their eyes locked. Something stronger than fear settling between them, a shared resolve. For the first time in years, Jarred felt it too, the possibility of not riding alone. Dawn broke hard and fast. Celine was already awake when the first light spilled over the canyon rim. Her hand resting on the reins, senses tuned to every sound. The camp showed no sign of the riders from the night before, but she knew better than to trust silence. Trouble on the trail rarely announced itself twice. Jarred returned from scouting the ridge, his expression grim. "They're close," he said. 6, maybe 8. "They'll try to hit us where the road narrows." Celine nodded, steadying her breath. "Then we don't give them that chance." She climbed onto the driver's bench, helped the passengers back into the coach, and urged the horses forward before the sun fully cleared the rocks. The stage rolled out at a faster pace than before, wheels bouncing over uneven ground. The canyon tightened sooner than expected. The trail dropped sharply, walls rising high on both sides. Celine felt the weight of it pressing in the perfect place for an ambush. Jarred shifted beside her, rifle-ready eyes scanning the heights. The first shot shattered the morning. A horse screamed as a bullet grazed its flank. Celine fought to keep the team from bolting, shouting calming words as her heart slammed against her ribs. "Keep moving." Jarred barked. Outlaws appeared along the ridges, silhouettes against the sky. Gunfire erupted from both sides. The coach rocked as bullets struck wood and iron. Jarred fired with deadly precision, each shot deliberate. One outlaw fell, then another. Celine grabbed her shotgun and fired back, forcing herself not to flinch at the recoil. She wasn't reckless. Every shot counted. A rider broke from cover ahead, charging straight for the stage. "Jarred," she shouted. He swung around, fired once. The rider pitched forward, hitting the dirt hard, but there were too many. A bullet shattered the front wheel, and the stage lurched violently before grinding to a halt. The horses reared, panicked, and screaming. Jarred jumped down. "Get them out of the coach." Celine didn't hesitate. She flung open the door, ushering the passengers toward a rocky outcropping, while returning fire with shaking hands. Fear clawed at her, but she refused to let it win. An outlaw closed in from the left. Jarred met him head down, moving fast, firing from the hip. The man fell inches from the stage. Another rushed Celine. She raised the shotgun, heart pounding, and pulled the trigger. The man dropped. For a moment, everything went quiet. Then the remaining outlaws fled, melting back into the rocks like ghosts. Celine's hands trembled as the echo of gunfire faded. She lowered the shotgun slowly, breath coming in sharp gasps. Jarred approached her eyes, scanning for threats before finally settling on her. "You hurt." She shook her head, still standing. Relief washed over her so hard, her knees nearly gave out. The passengers stared at them with awe and fear in equal measure. One of the merchants spoke softly. "We'd be dead without you." Jarred turned away, already assessing the damage to the stage. "Wheel's done," he said. "We'll have to ride double to the next station." Celine looked at the ruined coach, the blood on the dirt, the narrow escape. Then she looked at Jarred. "You could leave," she said quietly. "No one would blame you." He met her gaze. "So could you." She squared her shoulders. "I won't." "Neither will I," his eyes seemed to say. As they prepared to move on, Celine realized the road had stripped away something between them: distance, maybe or fear of letting someone stand beside her. The trail ahead was still dangerous, but now they were facing it together. The final stretch of trail felt quieter, but not safer. Celine rode beside Jarred on a single horse, the damaged stage following slowly behind with the remaining team. The passengers were silent now, humbled by how close they'd come to dying. Dust rose in soft clouds as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the land. They reached the next station just before dusk. The sight of solid walls and lantern light felt unreal after days of danger. Stable hands rushed forward, voices raised in surprise as they took in the battered stage and blood-stained wheels. "Ambush," Jarred said simply. That was explanation enough. As the passengers were ushered inside, Celine dismounted and leaned against the rail, exhaustion finally settling into her bones. Her hands still smelled of gunpowder and leather. She stared at them for a long moment. Jarred stood nearby, quieter than usual. "You didn't have to stay," she said at last. "After the wheel broke. After all of it, I know." "Why did you?" He considered the question carefully. "Because you didn't quit. And because the road isn't kinder to people who ride it alone." She looked at him, surprised by the softness in his voice. "I've spent a long time believing this job meant choosing danger over everything else," she admitted. "Turns out, it doesn't have to mean choosing it alone." Jarred met her eyes. "I'm not good at staying. I'm not asking for promises," Celine said. "Just honesty." He took a breath. "Then here it is. I don't know how to settle, but I know I don't want to walk away from this." The wind stirred her braid, the smell of dust and horses filling the air. She smiled, small but real. "The stage line needs protection," she said lightly. "Permanent protection." Jarred chuckled. "That sounds dangerously close to an offer." "Consider it one," she replied. They stood together as the sun slipped behind the hills, the danger of the trail fading into memory. Tomorrow would bring repairs, new passengers, and new risks, but also possibility. For the first time since taking the reins, Celine felt something like peace. And for the first time in years, Jarred stayed. The road stretched on long, uncertain, and unforgiving, but it also led forward. Together, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.